So where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in Texas, in near
Oh,
Houston, and then I lived in kind of most of my childhood in a small town in the very, very northern part of Illinois, like on the border of Wisconsin.
ah.
Yeah.
So how'd you get started in the path that you're on right now?
Hmm. I think a major part, well, looking back in retrospect, the moment in my young life which really pointed my mind in the direction which very obviously in retrospect became Zen, but at the time it had no name. Was I was 9 years old, and I used to come home after school as one does, and there were 2 or 3 hours of complete emptiness in my childhood home, and nobody was there, nothing was happening. It was, I mean, that house is still in the middle of nowhere. So there is nothing around for a couple miles in every direction. And um, it's really quiet. Even traffic is pretty thin. There is no traffic. There might be a car every couple
Mhm.
minutes or something like that. So it's really, really quiet. And I used to come home and sit quietly. It's a very, very strange thing to fall in love with as a 9-year-old kid, but everything was so noisy. I have several brothers and sisters. I'm number five of six, so at any given point, there's chaos. There was always chaos going on in the house, or friends coming over, or whatever. And those precious like 2 hours were dead quiet. No one was there, and I noticed that I could arrange my body and in a way that I could sit straight up where I wasn't using any muscles to hold my body up. Actually, it began because I could sit straight up and fall asleep in class if I dialed in my posture just right. So I was really good at just like looking like I was working, but my eyes were completely shut and I was completely asleep as a 9-year-old kid.
Mm.
It was
Mhm.
great. But I got home and I would spend time not doing anything, just like perceiving the silence. And I did that over and over and over for I think a period of months where all the conditions were just right. And it got longer and longer. Like I started with just a few minutes, and I was like, wow, this silence thing is intense. It's like, wow, you kind of have a trippy experience with your ears. If you go in a sound controlled space where it's dead silent, like you can hear your body more, and then
Mhm.
you might have auditory hallucinations. And I had some sense that there was something like that going on, and I was really interested. Like, what is that coming from? That's just coming from my imagination. And I was fascinated with how my brain would come up with stuff. And then I started to notice, oh, that's just thinking. Oh, that's thinking coming and going. And then one day I kind of fell into this perfect like zone of sitting still, wide awake, sitting straight up, where there was kind of no thought happening. And then all of a sudden I saw this ripple, like whoosh, across through like in the building, in the structure of the house. And it just kind of, there was like a big, how to explain this, there's a big picture window in my childhood home, huge, like perhaps 6 or 7 feet diagonally. It was quite a big thing, and it rippled across my vision, which was so strange. And I had enough time to notice it and think, what on earth was that? Also a product of my imagination? And then I heard boom off in the distance. And then I realized, oh, I think that's the quarry that's, 2, 3 miles in that direction, because the ripple went in that direction. And uh, I think at the time I didn't understand that, sound propagates through solid matter much faster than in air. So the explosion would shake the earth, and that would travel much faster than the sound traveling through the air. So you would see it before you would hear it. But that difference shocked me. And then, of course, I realized what it was. It was an explosion. And it cued me into this mistake that I had about my perception, which was that the home that I lived in, that I took for granted as a solid object, maybe would have some permanence to it, was completely flimsy and impermanent. And I had this sense of like, whoa, this place that is my safe zone, my home, is gonna fall down. It's just a pile of sticks. It's it's not permanent. And then it became like, oh, my body is probably, I also have that sense about my body. It's not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what do I do with that? And then that awoke that experience. It's a lot to explain, but like that experience I remember so clearly had stuck with me until I was probably like a year later, when I was about 10. The whole family moved to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and there we saw, Malaysia has a lot of different religions, and there's some Buddhists there too. And I saw some guys walking around in their beautiful orange clothes with a big bowl and walking barefoot, and I thought, what are those guys doing? And nobody explained that to me, but I had this impression that that was the right thing to do. Like that seemed like the thing. And I didn't know what it was for many, many, many years until I graduated college years later. And someone introduced me to Buddhism, and they were like, you kind of seem like a Buddhist guy. And I was like, no, that can't be. That's too hippie. I can't go that far. That's cliche. So I resisted and resisted. And eventually a cousin of mine dragged me into a Buddhist temple. And I was like, actually this kind of fits. I think I'm supposed to be here. And I was never able to leave. So.
And here you are.
Yeah.
But I imagine that wasn't Zen, right?
No, no, the Buddhist monks, in retrospect, they were wearing orange robes with the giant begging bowl, the bowl that they eat out of, were certainly Theravada monks, like similar to the Thai traditions, if not exactly a Thai tradition. And the first Buddhism that I found was Pure Land Buddhism, where they practiced reciting the name of Amida Buddha, which is a mythological character that the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, spoke about as a skillful means to help people. Whether there was indeed a Buddha, and an awakened being who lived an epoch prior to this one, it doesn't sound all that absurd when you think about, universes also being born and dying away, born in a black hole, maybe, kind of thing. Like, it doesn't seem that absurd, but we don't know. We can't verify that, actually. So I just put that in this is just a mythology. It fits it scratches an itch for certain people who have a certain kind of need to hear, to encounter, this is what it means to be a good person. So let's put it in a box that looks like this. Here you go. You can use it. So
yeah,
mythologies are important, is what I think.
I get it. Yeah, especially in terms of the Dharma, if it allows people to relate to the Dharma.
Yeah. I think that was maybe. Yeah. What do you think about what is your spiritual leaning? You interview all kinds of interesting people.
My leaning is I'm an omnist, so I believe there's truth in every belief system. You just gotta look at it the right way.
An omnist? This is my first time
that's the
hearing that
official
word.
term. An omnist.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Yeah.
I mean, I resonate greatly with Eastern philosophy, but I think from a basis of Eastern philosophy, you can look at any philosophy and find that kernel of truth.
Yeah.
My main thing I would say is Sanatana Dharma, situated around yogic philosophy and things of that nature. But I also greatly resonate with Buddhism. But I've just recently explored Christianity. within the last year, Islam within the last year, getting into like Tantra and Tantric
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism. So I'm just everything. I'm an omnist in that regard.
Mm. I got
Yeah.
I have two questions for you on that. In
Mm-hmm.
Islam, have you encountered Sufism? Sufism? I don't know if it's Sufism or Sufism.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Tomato, tomato.
Yeah, yeah.
Interestingly enough, I'm talking to a Sufi teacher next week, and I've never
Oh,
actually explored it myself. So that will be my first introduction into Sufism. So it's funny that you
great.
asked me that.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
if
Stay tuned, everybody.
yeah, and everyone should go pick up a book. If you go find any book containing the poetry of Hafiz, he was a Sufi poet,
Mm-hmm.
and he is described among poets as having no colleague. And when you read it, if he doesn't touch the condition of your heart, then you might be dead. He is incredible, and his poetry, even translated from Arabic, from his original language, has a musical quality to it that just sings to, I think, anyone who's ever loved anyone who has ever been loved by anyone. And he
Mm.
is he speaks about God, and he talks about himself in third person, which is kind of funny at first, but when you start to really understand how there's no ego in the way he speaks about it, and what he refers to as God is something so broad and full and non-specific. It's like, no matter what your religious background is, when you read it, he's talking about the substance of the universe, to which we
Mm.
all aim to be more intimate with. And it's just incredible. Sufism is, I have the utmost respect for Hafiz. And then the other one, to connect Buddhism and yoga, there is a tradition in Buddhism that's very, very old, and I think so. Across a lot of Buddhist traditions, we have this very important philosophy that Siddhartha Gautama transmitted understanding, verified understanding and practice in one person. And it was the understanding of the Buddha Dharma was transmitted one person to one person, and then one person to one person. And maybe the Buddha verified a few people, and then the next person, each of those people verified a few people. But it was always an intimate, personal, one-to-one relationship through which verification happened. So, across most Buddhist traditions, we have an understanding of the lineage all the way back, like one to one, all the way back to the Buddha. So I know my master's name, I know my master's master's name, and so forth, all the way back to the Buddha. So we're all connected somewhere in that line. And within the first maybe 8 or 10 generations of masters from Siddhartha Gautama, there was a teacher called Ashvaghosha. And Ashvaghosha was an Indian monk, of course, and he was quite the master, and left behind a text, or is attributed to have left behind a text called The Awakening of Faith. And it's about mind, from a school of Buddhism called Yogacara. And it's very, very yoga. I mean, it is a yoga tradition, but it's like yoga for your mind. So it's crazy detailed. And if you ever want to read a text and have your brain shut down because your brain can't understand itself, because as you start to process, oh, this is how mind works, your brain goes, I'm tired, over, like processor overload. The Awakening of Faith is probably the most intense explanation of the function of mind I have ever encountered. So highly recommend it.
Wow. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I never heard of
Yeah.
it. It's an interesting title because faith is not a term that is thrown around in Eastern philosophy.
Yeah. And it
So how does
doesn't,
that come about?
Yeah, it doesn't mean the same thing as in what we're as
Yeah.
Western folks. We have a strong conditioned understanding of the word faith, and in most Eastern philosophies, and definitely in Buddhism and 100% in Zen, what faith means is not the same thing as what it's not. I don't even know why that word is applied. It doesn't match at all.
Or maybe it was a mistranslation or just a wonky translation.
I mean, mm, it's hard to it's hard to explain. It's more like faith is trusting and doing. So we're given a set of teachings by a master, by by the teacher who directly gives us the thing. Like whether you're a layperson and you meet a monk, or you're someone who you become a monk and you have a really intimate relationship with a teacher, and that person makes you a monk, and then eventually that person verifies your practice, and then you can become a teacher as a result of that. That set of teachings naturally changes over time. It doesn't look exactly the same from generation to generation because it's colored by the intellectual and personality disposition, while also the context in history and time and culture that relationship finds itself. But the purpose of the teaching remains the same from the Buddha all the way to the present in every Buddhist tradition, which is it is an opportunity to accept teaching in and practice within a set of conditions, a kind of guideline set of conditions, in which you have permission to abandon the typical functioning of your ego. So you get into this relationship and you take the teachings from a master, and you don't have to worry about the clothes that you wear. You don't have to worry about where the food is going to come from, and you don't have to worry about making decisions or judging, or you don't have to worry about thinking to a large extent when you fully accept what your teacher is there to teach you. And people could think, well, yeah, I should just become a monk because if I don't have to worry about what to eat and don't have to worry about what to wear, that sounds like a life of luxury. Well, actually, it's brutal. It's really hard. And there are parts of it which challenge, which our ego bumps up directly against, and it feels awful. But that's part of the practice of, oh, that's my ego doing that. If I can radically release the thing, then something else can emerge. And trusting that kind of structure, the container of teaching and practice given to us by our teacher, that is the faith that we have in, at least in Zen, is how I would explain that. And returning to that over and over with trust is faith, and verifying it over and over. Like, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? Checking it and checking it. That process is the faith in mind, faith in Zen.
It's well spoken. Yeah, I like
Thank
that.
you.
So it's faith in the teachings that were presented to you, faith
Yes.
in the teacher, and essentially faith in the Buddha. And it's
Yeah.
more so just like, it's not like the Buddha is gonna save you. It's faith in, how do I put this? It's faith in the teachings so you can save yourself. It's a big difference of like having faith in Jesus and I accept Jesus and just because I said that he's going to save me. It's like, no, no, no. You have faith in what the Buddha has presented for you, but there's still work that
Yes.
you have to do.
Yes. There is no one, well, at least the philosophical supposition in large swaths of Buddhism and in Zen is that no one will save you, only you. And it doesn't matter. It is inconsequential to the present moment whether there is a heaven or a hell or a before life or an afterlife. What you do now defines what kind of state into which you are constantly being reborn. Are you in hell right now, or are you in the pure land of, where things are easy and everything becomes joy and ease?
Mm-hmm.
So how
Yeah.
can we be liberated from suffering now?
Mm. Yeah. And it's being able to find that joy and ease even amidst the egoic hellscape, right? It's like even
Yes.
amidst stuff that isn't necessarily suffering that isn't necessarily of our own accord. It's like, can you find even peace in the fire? You know?
Um, yeah, I went on a walk recently with my Dharma brother. That means so my master is an old man here in the countryside of Japan, and he has a son who's a few years younger than me. But of course, he became a monk many years before me, so he's my older brother, even though he's a
Mm-hmm.
younger guy than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really interesting because he was born basically destined to become a monk. He didn't have a choice, and so his relationship with Buddha Dharma is different. But our master, his dad, also was not a monk, was born as a regular, what's called a householder in Buddhism, and he became a monk. So his dad and I we probably see more eye to eye than he does. And we were discussing something about dropping away body and mind, which is a phrase that the founder of Soto Zen really likes, Master Ehe Dogen. And he said it's kind of like um, practicing until even fire becomes cool.
Ah.
It sounds cooler in Japanese, like himo suzushi, himo mata suzushi. It means like he is fire, and mo mata means and also, and suzushi means cool. So even fire becomes cool when you practice
Mm.
enough, so that like no, exactly as you said, in the midst of suffering, it's even the suffering is the cool, great place.
Mm.
And
That's fascinating. That's a saying, and I said fire. I never
yeah,
heard that saying before.
yeah, I hadn't either. Strangely enough, I think it's. Where did he say it came from? Oh, I've lost where he said. He told me where it came from, and I because when he first said it, it just went. Phew. I was like, did he say? And fire is also cool. I think that's a reference,
Mhm.
but what does that mean? And he explained it later to me. But it was, yeah,
I
it's a
like that
beautiful
though.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna remember that one because all of us are gonna go through our own fire. That's the thing,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's why we practice, right? It's because we
Mm.
kind of see what the Buddha saw that we're all gonna get old, sick, and die. So
Yeah.
that's why I practice, at least. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you can speak. Yeah, same thing for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure everyone can remember the first when you're young enough to go, or you're old, when you just got old enough to go to your first funeral, and like it's like somebody's grandma, maybe your own or grandpa, and you see that open casket. Well, in the West, it's a casket, right?
Mm,
And you see their deceased form, and it's shocking and weird, and like, especially as a kid, you're like, are they still breathing? They kind of look like they're sleeping. Why does their face look funny? Like there's a
mm,
whole lot of it's an intense experience to witness death, and a very important and natural thing to witness. Uh, and
mm,
it's hard not to be impacted by it. So, but then how we regard it going forward, how somebody tells us to understand it, how our parents or if we go to church or something, how a priest or a minister will compartmentalize it for us so that we can process it. That could lead to some slightly different outcomes in our regard. But um, yeah, I mean, everyone is affected by it because we all
yeah,
subject to it.
we're all mortal beings. Yeah, that's the
Mm.
thing. We've all seen it. We all felt it in our own life, but how do you deal with it? I think most people
Mm.
don't know how to. It's not their fault, right?
Yeah,
Especially if you're a Westerner.
yeah,
And that's why I regard the Dharma so much because it is kind of like, well, how you deal with your suffering, right? That's the Four Noble
Hmm.
Truths,
Hmm.
essentially.
Yes.
And most people just don't know that's an alternative. Most people just try to escape from it through drugs, video
Yeah.
games, just hedonism altogether. But yeah, because of the Dharma, it's more of like an embrace, right? Rather than an escape that the Western world prescribes for you, it's more of an embrace of the suffering, and that's what cools the fire.
Yeah. Yes. It exactly is. But doing the embracing, like I love to make these physical analogies. Like, yeah, that sounds really great. It's like really cool, man. I'm all in. But actually,
Hmm.
if you think about embracing something, about hugging someone or something, um, that
Mm.
actually, interestingly, my name Eshin, the means embracing mind. The means
Uh-huh.
embracing, and then Shin is the Chinese character for heart or mind. So, um, so embracing something, uh, we actually have to use muscles to do it, and that
Mm.
that means that we're burning calories. It costs effort, and we have to do it
Yeah.
intentionally. So, to embrace the fire also means that the first time that you touch it, it's going to burn, and you have to do the work of the embracing, even on a
Yeah.
physical level. So, uh, that would be my encouragement to everyone to uh, really study yourself really, really
Mm.
hard and question yourself. Figure out what your
Mm.
original nature is, and figure out what your context is in our waking world. It'll change your
Mm.
life, man. Check it out.
Seriously though,
Yeah.
changes everything.
Mm.
I like that. I like that image of you're hugging the flame, and then if you hug it enough, it can't breathe, and it goes out.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
cool it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I'm taking it a little too far there, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
like it. Yeah. Now, is that the essence of Buddhism? Maybe to somebody that doesn't know any better, right? Let's pretend somebody listening has no idea what Buddhism is. Is that the essence? Is like just getting to know yourself, getting to know how the mind works, how everything that you call yourself works?
Um, it is my how to phrase this. In as much as I have come to understand, um, the historical Buddha, I use this term now. I'm not so much. Well, okay, yeah, I have. There's a lot of qualifiers around the word Buddha, but um, Siddhartha Gautama, the original teacher who started teaching people stuff, which then people categorized and organized as a world religion, Buddhism. Um, well, he wasn't a Buddhist. Let's start with that. He was just a guy trying to sort out what to do about this life. How do we comport ourselves in this life, given that it sucks? Actually, it's really wonderful, but at the same time, like everything goes wrong. Um,
Yeah.
and ultimately we die, and that sucks. He had back problems in his late life, and he got angry sometimes. He was still a person. He was just a person, maybe exceptional, but still just a regular old human being.
Hmm.
Um, what he did, mm, was undertake a whole bunch of kind of weird, maybe esoteric or obscenely challenging practices in order to understand what suffering is, what is the nature of suffering, and then what to do about it. And at the end of all these kinds of whatever interesting practices he did with different masters of different traditions, yoga would be one that was heavily included, and asceticism very famously, where he ate only like 1 grain of rice a day for some period of time. Um, the end result was he realized that none of those were actually the point or solving or answering the question that he was looking for. And the final practice was finding a still place where there was no movement and just sitting awake. And the last thing to face was his own ego. And the mythology we are left with is that, Mara, if people don't know who Mara is, kind of like the devil. That's like it's a terrible equivalency between East and West, but Mara is sort of just mischievousness or ill will kind of thing. And
Mm.
in the story, when you read it, you're like, Mara is a separate character, maybe like a demon or something like this, or the devil. But actually, more subtly speaking, Mara is just Siddhartha Gautama's own ego. If you could see Mara's face, it was none other than the Buddha's own face. Mara presented terrifying things like a 10,000-foot tall angry elephant charging at him, pure fear, or a whole bunch of sirens, beautiful, scantily clad young women or young men, whatever you fancy, and those that temptation was presented to the Buddha in that period where he was sitting still at the end of all this practice. Well, what is that temptation? It's none other than his own sort of physiological desire for reproduction, to see something that you want to make a baby with, or practice making a baby with. We have human desires around that kind of thing. And then seeing it, but not moving, refusing indeed to be perturbed by any of that, whether that is on the inside or the outside. And that practice is at the end only studying mind and understanding that all of our perceptions of all the phenomena that we encounter in the world is our mind. We are receiving it through sensory organs, and we are processing it and sorting it in our brains, in our thought producing organ. And so everything we think about the world is just thinking. What is it? If it's almost impossible to separate from the function of thought, and therefore our ego. But there is a kind of a way to regard it which is free of the inevitable BS that comes along with our ego doing its functioning thing. And that is the core of all Buddhism. And because of different people's varying dispositions, different means of coming to understand this arose. Different styles of teaching arose as Buddhism spread to different cultures without destroying anything that was already there in the faith of the people that it first met. That kind of spiritual context was, we could say, assimilated or included in Buddhism. Kind of like Catholicism realized they couldn't kill whatever the thing was in South America. I think it's called Santa Maria. Catholicism couldn't kill those sort of old native religions. They couldn't just say, no, this is all wrong. Instead, they just said, well, we can just smoothly include this. And Christmas is famously a pagan holiday after all. So like Christianity did it too. And I think all the world religions have to some extent. Although we do have, there are also lots of stinky proselytization where people say, oh, what you believe is wrong. You should believe this. And that causes all kinds of problems. But Buddha already realized that wasn't going to help. That just creates more suffering in a person. So don't do that. Just, that's fine too. Just, you need this to study yourself. And so that's really the core of Buddhism, as far as I understand it. It's a long explanation. I'm sorry.
That was good. I was following you there. So it seems like the core is for all of us at that moment of desire arising to be still enough to not be tempted into it, right? We all have our own Mara.
Yeah. Maybe not so much not to be tempted, because we will be tempted, but to
act on the temptation.
Yeah, to at least for a moment restrain our animal instinct to just chase pleasure, to chase snacks, to chase the opportunity to reproduce, to just I'm just going to stop for a hot second before.
Mm.
And maybe you're going to do those things. Well, you got to eat, so you're going to get the snack at the end of the day. It's very okay to have a family. It's okay to audition relationships to find out if can we reproduce? Is this an opportunity that you would like to explore together? I'm saying that in a really
Mm-hmm.
funny way, but those are those
Yeah.
are fine and natural things. Those are all included. There's no rule that says do not do them. The rule is don't misuse them. If you're gonna have a beer, drink a beer, but don't just
Mm.
waste away your life just pounding alcohol. That's being intoxicated. Just
Mm-hmm.
like picking up your smartphone. Look, I'm a monk with a smartphone. Um, you
Oh.
know, to pick this up and be, how to say, absorbed, as we all are these days. We have an addiction to this kind of thing. Is
Mm-hmm.
the same as dealing in intoxicants. Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs created something and sold it to the world, which is kind of like in the Buddhist rule set of like, don't deal in intoxicants, don't be intoxicated. They kind of did that,
Mm.
which kind of makes it kind of
Oh yeah.
questionable.
Yeah.
But it's not just alcohol, it's not just marijuana, it's not just all those things. It's also, whatever we do to exclusion of other things is in dealing in an intoxicant.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that, the more you study yourself, if you just stop, all of that becomes very obvious.
Mm.
And
Yeah. So would you say it's how we approach the desires and how we approach the intoxicants? Because we're using the intoxicant right now, quite literally,
indeed,
ironically
indeed,
so.
and everyone watching is also doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny, sort of a joke
Yeah.
in there, but it's like how one utilizes the desires that come about, how one
Hmm.
approaches it from a more mindful way. That is that the middle way?
Yeah, I think so, because yeah, I mean, like you're gonna have to put it down. We have to put it down at some point in our like in today. Um, we have to turn our attention to our friend or our loved one or our pet um, or our house catches on fire. We have to like collect something important and save our life. There's no time for whatever's intoxicating. We have to do what's alive there. Or you're going for a walk and a bear comes after you. You have to run away. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
intoxication there. You're purely awake. Or you have to drive. I like driving. Like, how many people have, I think everyone can relate to driving home from work, getting home, you're kind of a little bit tired, but you get home and you go, wait a minute, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
Did I drive safely? Well, yeah, you got there safe, unless you wake up in heaven and like a cartoon or something. But you presumably you got home and you drove safely. You were encountering all these situations, and nothing was unusual, and you made safe decisions as you went, but without leaving any thought behind. You didn't grab onto anything. In that is like a really cool Sanskrit word, which is in yoga and of course in Buddhism called samadhi, and that's like absorption in an activity in a good way, not the intoxicated way, but to be pure and bright and empty and functioning naturally is to be in the samadhi of receiving the self and using the self. And um, like when you drive home without thinking, but safely, that was an example of a natural, spontaneous samadhi that we have in our lives. And we can live with that in that zone. We can meet every situation in our life within that zone if we kind of study our life as a chance to do that. And that would be a
Yeah.
way that even when we suffer, even when we have to deal with our own desires or addictions, whether that be to substances or activities like Instagram or something, we can see it for what it is, and then not be moved by it.
I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's because we know how to drive the car we can reach that flow state. We can reach that samadhi state.
Yeah. You had to go to classes. You had to practice something to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to do the work at the end.
You gotta do the work. Yeah.
Yeah.
The car's a little more simple than the mind, but it's the same idea. Maybe is it? I don't know. Maybe we overcomplicate it. I think we do, actually.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah, I think we do. But yeah, same idea of flow. I like the word flow, right? One can sense the Tao, right? You are in and of the activity, and yeah, there's no pushing away, and there's no attachment to what comes about, right? That's the middle way, essentially, right? We're just kind of we're just bobbing and weaving with whatever comes about in our life, and I think that's the essence of not suffering.
Yeah. The Zen qualifier would be that even though you're no longer subject to suffering, well, one, getting there is very difficult. It requires a lot of work. And then two, a lot of boring work, I want to add. And then two, you're still subject to it. You, like, in an ultimate sense, you're still going to feel pain. You're still going to age. You're still going to get sick. You're still going to get angry at stuff. And then it's what you do with yourself when you find yourself in that situation. How do you move through it?
Yeah, rather than holding on to the anger, right?
Yeah.
Holding on to the pain, which just creates more pain and more suffering.
Yeah. And sometimes it's
I get that.
Done to you, like someone gets angry at you for you being quirky or interesting or weird. If you're weird like me, then your friends and your partner or whatever will get mad at you for doing something strange sometimes, and you just go, yeah, I don't ask me why I did that. It's just what I do. It's a little bit off, I know, and just, hey, that's me. Can't do much about it. As long as it's not causing any harm, it's ostensibly it's okay, but you still have to sort that out, and we still have to also polish ourselves in a way along this way to be a good community member, to be more or less easy to be around, because we're
more
not.
Or less.
Yeah, more or less. We're not easy. We're not. We're never alone. We don't exist in a context apart from other people. So being a good friend is also a really important part of probably any spiritual practice, but definitely a big part of Zen.
Yeah, it's the Buddha, the Dharma, and last but not least, the Sangha.
That's right. That's right. Well said.
Yeah. Now, what is the work, would you say? Is it just a lot of meditation? A lot of asceticism?
Yeah. I mean, asceticism becomes restraining yourself from things, intentionally doing less when you can. There's also the meditation, in Zen, what we call Zazen. Although we also like to say that Zazen is not meditation, it's just sitting. In a way that, well, kind of the way that I have come to understand and to try to teach people is that our practice of meditation or of Zazen is orienting ourselves to stillness and silence. As a metaphor or as a principle, everything exists within silence and stillness. Space is largely empty. I mean, it's full of, tiny particles and they're kind of far apart, right? Well, it's quiet in a way. Everything exists within quiet. When we listen to music, there are sounds which are punctuating silence. That silence is really important. If anybody's ever messed around in audio engineering, if you have two pieces of sound and you leave a gap with nothing in the middle and you listen to it, there's a beep, bop, bop, beep, and then silence where there's actually no sound file, no silence recorded, and then another beep, bop, bom, bom. And you, even though there's no music happening between the beeps that happen over here and then the files end here, this gap with nothing in it, you hear it. Put it on a stereo, all of a sudden you're like, what? This doesn't sound right. What happened here? Because there's no silence. That's important. Without that, it changes. And so practicing Zazen is creating intimacy with the base level, which is not moving, not making sound. And from that place, we can use all of our capacities to live in a kind of a balanced, pretty joyful and easy way, no matter what the difficulty that comes up, no matter what the situation that comes up. So the main thing that polishes us, that helps us get better, is the meditation practice. But actually, the bulk of the actual practice in Zen is living. It's just living, brushing your teeth, wiping your butt, cleaning, cooking, and spending time with friends, understanding how to deal with people you don't like, you can't not be around, and embracing them anyway.
Wonderfully spoken.
Thank you.
So it's bringing that relationship with the silence into the sound, into the music of our life. Yeah. I feel that. And I think that's really what counts in our practice, because you can't escape. There's nowhere you can go. You can try and go to the cave. But there really is no cave. You know, you can try, but we're here. We're all on earth. You know, we're all one Sangha, essentially. So, yeah, I guess it's find enough time where you can acquaint yourself, which I think we all have time. And then in whatever you have going on, the drama of your life, bring that essence into it. And then it changes everything, right? It changes the music, would you say?
Yeah, it makes it richer. And every note, well, say note, and could also mean every phenomena in life, becomes more meaningful and more beautiful because you're paying closer attention to it. But you're not grabbing onto this one to the exclusion of what came before or what will come next. It's just, this is this. Comes and goes.
This is this.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's
I like that.
You said cave, and I kind of had this it drew up this funny memory. Do you know who Bodhi Dharma is? Yeah, he was a Zen, like he's considered the father of Zen, and he's surrounded by lots of mythology, but one of the important stories about his life is that he sat Zazen, silent meditation, in a cave facing the wall for 9 long years after he became a master, after his teacher said, you got the thing, you're a master. And then he went and did the practice even more. I told this to a little kid who came to a temple where I was working, and he looked at a picture like I have on the wall back here of Bodhidharma, and he said, so he sat in a cave for 9 years doing Zazen? Well, where did he poo? And it's like, kid, you're speaking truth. Where did he poo?
Like, that's a Zen koan right there.
Yeah. We love the mythological story that he just sat Zazen. Well, actually, no, he ate. He probably cleaned that cave, like, kept the bugs away, keep it tidy so there are not too many bugs, and like, probably periodically washed his body and did all kinds of other living things, interacted with other people too. And yet, it was completely oriented to the stillness and silence in his life, and that was doing it for 9 long years, not like just sitting. Like the Buddha is said to have sat under a Bodhi tree for a week straight, no sleeping, in order to get enlightenment, to understand, to penetrate the matter. Well, he also probably had to poo and pee sometimes, and probably had to get up and like move his body around, because like no one can actually do that physically. It's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it mean to do meditation for an unending, tireless week? What does it mean to sit in a cave facing a wall for 9 long years? What does it mean to live a life completely saturated by the practice of studying yourself in meditation?
Mm-hmm. Essentially, those stories are like metaphors for us to take and find our own cave, find our own Bodhi tree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think so.
I think so too. Yeah. Also, what's important about the Buddhist story too is he came back into the kingdom to teach, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's the path for all of us? Is, after you kind of get it per se, come back and give back a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. Um, if we, if anyone understands, the teacher, somebody points us in the direction, the teachings, what the thing that they're pointing at and how we use it, and then the people that we are around are the people that are near us, are our community. So you see what I did there: Buddha, Dharma, Sangha,
Yeah.
but without those fancy esoteric words. If we recognize those things as the 3 treasures which they are in our life, then when we recognize the teacher and we appreciate the teaching that we receive in any given situation, if a wise boss at a workplace or whatever, could be the same effect as having a teacher and teachings. And in our community, we exist among people who come to different levels of understanding, and people who have more understanding than us become other teachers, but people who have less understanding than us, carefully, not being full of our own ego that like, I'm hot stuff, I got it, like not
Hmm.
thinking quite like that, but helping those whom we can, when we can, with care and compassion, is also treasuring our community, and also taking the wisdom that we have been gifted with the opportunity to encounter and to understand, and then sharing it on. That is, I think, a profound responsibility, and probably,
Mm.
like, I mean, that's quintessentially Eastern. Uh, it's in Taoism. It's definitely in Confucianism, and it's 100% in all of Buddhism. But maybe it's not so explicitly laid out in contemporary Western philosophy, the way Western people understand our. I mean, it's there. The thing, the function is there in like American culture, but it's not named and sort of. Mm, it doesn't. It hasn't really. It's not held in its own specific high regard, I think, in
I know
Western
what you're
culture.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is definitely there in terms of like Bible verses like man will not be saved by faith alone, but by works, something along those lines.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's in
yeah.
there, it's hidden, but it's not like one of the tenets. It's not one of the 10 commandments. I don't think.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's hidden, but it's not like bhakti yoga. It's not like karma yoga, right? It's not really
Yeah.
outlined. Service isn't really outlined per se. So I get what you're saying.
Mm.
Hmm. I think it's just natural though. Like if one has this understanding, it doesn't matter what books they have or haven't read, that inclination to serve and give back is just natural, whatever in whatever lineage or belief system that you fall into, because it's like it helped you so much, right? You
Yeah.
kind of have to give back, right?
Yeah. It's obvious. It is really obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because what you see is that, and this is getting a little out there and esoteric, but what one sees is that they are in the silence. They are in and of the silence, just as anybody else is. So it's the Bodhisattva ideal. If the other people that aren't really the others don't make it per se, then you didn't make it. So
Yeah.
it's like you kind of have to, in some
Yeah.
regard, you
Yeah.
know?
Have you ever heard of Pratyeka Buddha? I might be pronouncing that wrong, but that's the pronunciation
I
I've
don't
been
think so.
transmitted. So in the canon of Buddhist mythology, there's the Buddha also described, Siddhartha Gautama also is said to have described a kind of awakened person who doesn't seek to teach and share that enlightenment with other people, with other beings. Not necessarily that they're bad, because teaching is like banging your head on the sidewalk. Trying to get people to wake up is a fool's errand. It's a Sisyphean effort, as they say. But so there are Buddhas who become awakened and then come out of the forest, as you said earlier, is exactly what Siddhartha Gautama did, and begins to share the point carefully, hard work. And then there are people who get it and recognize that sharing it is a fool's errand, and they just enjoy themselves in samadhi, the samadhi of self, and operate as completely, fully wise, awake beings. And maybe someone around them will notice, but they don't say anything in particular about it, but they're operating with complete wisdom. And I think when people begin to study this kind of phenomenon, you might notice that your life there are lots of people like that who
Yeah.
function a little bit differently, but it's so subtle that if you don't know what you're looking for, you won't see it. If you don't practice to understand it, you won't see it. But those Buddhas are called Pratyeka Buddhas. They're Buddhas who, in a way, are hermits. They might live in a town, in an apartment building, or in a society, but they practice alone, and they come to deep understanding alone without needing to share. It's not an ideal, because the Buddha's own feeling, which is, I think, what became the Mahayana thing, the whole Bodhisattva kind of framework of understanding of being a Bodhisattva, is that I, together with all beings, will awaken. I will not go all the way, because it will leave everyone behind. And it's actually much better to imagine us all getting there together. It does something good for our heart, and it keeps us in our communities in a net positive way. But there are also beings, people who are completely awake and get there and don't teach.
Yeah. I think that can be just as powerful though, because I've
Yeah.
come across my own Prachatya Buddhas. Is that how you say it?
Pratyeka.
Prachatya? Pracheka. So
Pratyeka.
yeah,
Somebody
I've come across my own.
in comments will correct us if it's wrong. So
Of
let's
course,
just enjoy
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So I've come across my own undercover Buddhas, and it affects me so much just in their resonance and in their energy. And they're not talking any Dharma. The Dharma is in their energy and how they
Yeah.
speak, and just who they are as a person. So sometimes I feel like that's more powerful than someone trying to evangelize some kind of teaching, who's trying to save everybody. Someone that has a podcast or something,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be very powerful. And I think that's the glory of the Dharma and the glory of understanding or realization, whether one has any exposure to the Dharma or not, is that when we save ourselves, we save the world. And we don't necessarily save the world in a grandiose way. We save it in the small ways. I know that might sound a little cliche and corny, but all in the little instances in our life, all the goings on and all of the stuff that we got to deal with each
Yeah.
other. That's how we save the world, like holding the door
Yes.
for somebody, giving money to the homeless guy or something like that, or
Yeah.
just giving your mom a hug. I don't know, all in
Yeah.
those little things that adds up. And that's
It
how we
sure
save the
does.
world, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Those thoughtless, oh, well, let's listen. Thoughtless sounds wrong. Let's say thought-free, naturally occurring wonderful things are an example of our innate goodness, our whole and completeness as a living being.
Hmm.
There's uh, I mean, if you read a lot, if you read enough books, you start to recognize that everybody's talking about the same thing. Everybody says the
Yep.
same darn thing. Every Dharma talk you ever listen to is the same thing. It's just, hey,
Yeah.
this is it. Wake up. That said, like Chogyam Trungpa, who's was a Tibetan Buddhist monk who disrobed and then did all kinds of sketchy things. He's kind of a wild person, but a really
Hmm.
insightful teacher. He was also a very charismatic writer. His writing is very beautiful and very easy to glean wisdom from without all the esoteric jargon. But he describes our fundamental goodness, the fundamental goodness of all people, kind of an opposite, contradiction to a kind of a Christian idea of original sin.
Hmm.
But and there's a Zen master called Bankei who teaches. He was a Rinzai Zen monk, but when he was alive in the 1600s, monks from all the traditions in Japan would come to hear and ask him questions and to talk about the great matter with him, because he taught in a way that was, he never quoted scripture, he never quoted anything. He just talked about, like, everyone has Buddha mind. Actually, this mind, our waking everyday mind, is Buddha mind. It is fundamentally good. We operate with it most of the time, but we manipulate it when we get angry. We kind of twist our fundamental goodness, as Chogyam Trungpa called it, whenever we get perturbed or moved or pushed out of our stillness and silence, um, by our emotional responses to things, or our attachment, or our clinging, or our aversion to things. But actually coming back to just this is it, and being empty and natural is the Buddha mind, which you all have. All of the listeners have. All of us have. We just keep distracting ourselves from it.
Yeah. That's the thing, is the simplicity of it. Buddha was trying to show us we're all actually the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to see it, right? You just got to get out of your own way. And that's the
Yeah.
thing, is it's hidden in plain sight the whole time, right here, right now. You are the
Mm.
Buddha. We all can realize that.
Mm.
But yet we run away from it. We're like, ah, not
Mm-hmm.
today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe
Yeah.
next life.
Yeah. There is no next life. It's now. You got to wake up now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but for some
Yeah.
reason we're like, ah, I don't know. Maybe we haven't suffered enough, right? Like, why? What holds us back? It's ourselves, but why do we hold ourselves back from becoming the Buddha?
Mm.
Good question,
Mm.
right? I don't know. Well, how would you answer that?
Um. If we think about the kind of cultural understanding of our, let's say, well, like, common understanding of the physiology of our brain, our thought producing organ, it has these sort of compartments, which we say are like the amygdala is like the lizard brain, and then there's sort of a whole aspect of it which is really just a sort of an animalistic function, which is maybe a little bit more complicated than a lizard, but
Hmm.
isn't is pretty slave to chasing snacks and reproduction. Um,
Yeah.
and then we have all this higher thinking where we have like complex memories, and we can create patterns and have something which we call morality or whatever. So that said, on a base level, we have a nature which is exactly like a wild animal, and it's really easy to lose our higher thinking to our baser instincts and to do just chase everything we want. And what happens when we do that? Obvious. It's
Suffer.
obvious. You suffer and you cause a lot of suffering for others.
Mm-hmm.
You're just, it's an obvious mistake. You know, people go to rehab for that or go to
Mm.
prison. Society has ways of, you know, pounding down those wild nails, so to speak.
Mm.
And if you don't ever, well, I mean, I think that's why it's said in Buddhism, it's really hard to hear Dharma, to hear the teachings, to see deeply into nature. It's difficult. And even once you have, it's hard to forget, but we do forget it. We fall out of it. You know, we wake up in the morning and we fall asleep at the end of the day. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, getting awake and falling asleep are two halves of nature. And so waking up to the truth of what's in front of us and forgetting it are also two halves of the same thing. Faith in Buddhism was
I see.
also returning to that other side, recognizing that there are two sides. Even once you've forgotten, you're going, oh yeah, there's still that other side. You know what? I'm going to sit down and do some meditation. I'm going to do some zazen. You know, that's also part of the faith thing. But it's really easy to just let ourselves be driven around by this. Like, I'll say, what's more complicated than a lizard, but still very much an animal? A monkey? Monkey is a good example. You know, like she's just from this to that, going crazy. And if you look in a mirror, you recognize that you kind of, you keep missing the point. You keep wasting time. But maybe some people could recognize that and not know what to do. There is something there. They don't even know how to form a question out of what they notice. That's hard. That's why we have the treasures of ancient traditions handed down of people deeply studying the matter, receiving it from a teacher, and then studying it again, and then studying it again, and then it gets deeper and more subtle over hundreds of generations. You know, it's why Buddhism's pretty cool and yoga is pretty cool, and in terms of like teaching us to understand ourselves, because
Yeah.
it's not one person that started it, or it's not one person that developed it and perfected it. It's more like thousands of people, generations,
Yeah.
make it deeper and richer and give it as a gift to future generations.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I always say that when one understands the Dharma enough, you become a part of the Dharma. And I think you just explained it in a very eloquent way there. It's like the Dharma is fluid, right? It's like the Dharma evolves as time goes on, as humanity goes on and develops, the Dharma has to develop in that
Yes.
regard. Yeah, I like that. That's good, man. Oh wow. And it's always seeing in some way that that cycle of sleeping, awaking, seeing that samsara is nirvana.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why it has to evolve, right? Through us, because there are different ways that Mara will tempt us as we go on through time, as we develop new technology, as we develop ourselves or the ego self in different ways. There's different ways that the Dharma has to be explained, right? The different ways that the Dharma has to be elucidated through us. So it's an interesting dance in that regard.
Yeah.
It's like a balancing force.
No, there's a heavy qualifier that I mean, as a Zen priest, I have to say as well as that we I think that one of the troubles with those of us Western folks who get into this thing, one of the things that we might have a strong tendency to do is loving our individuality so much that we go into it with this idea that we're going to innovate what it is, to like, oh, I'm going to change this on an individual basis. And when we do that, we're applying ego in a way that is counter to the actual, to the real wisdom that we might have access to had we not tried to intentionally change it. Like for example, because the United States doesn't have a really deep cultural identity of its own. It's definitely not homogenous, or the culture that exists is not, it doesn't understand itself very well yet because it's too darn young. It's a baby. 250 years is just a drop. It's just a drop in a bucket. You know, Japan is like 3,000 or 4,000 years old. Come on. China's like 7 or 8. It's like you can't even compare.
All right.
But the tendency that in America is because of our lack of cultural identity, we see people exploring. We do explore, and people get into this concern about, are we appropriating something that's not originally ours? Are we allowed? We shouldn't be doing that because it's, American people should not wear these funny clothes, or we should not do this thing. We should not do these ceremonies in this shape or whatever. That's Japanese, or, whatever it is. They might, but that's just trying to take only what you like from it and leaving out all the other stuff is maybe not honoring the chance, the meaning of the opportunity of receiving the teaching and practicing in a community or with a teacher, creating a context in which we don't have to have ego. We don't have to operate by ego, by picking and choosing. If you only take what you want, you enter by picking and choosing. And then you miss a whole lot of the best part of the work, the best part of the opportunity to hear and to learn. And that's to learn yourself. And if you enter by picking and choosing, like, oh, I only like this part, I only like that part, then you're not getting the full picture. You're limiting yourself. You're creating suffering in yourself that you don't need to.
I see. Yeah. I think that was well spoken. And I think the customization, you could say, of the Dharma is really how, ideally, it should be how it's conveyed to you, like how it's accessed. Like, I don't think one should try and change the Dharma. Like, keep it the same. Don't change the tradition, but how one accesses it now, in the terms of like everything that we have at our disposal, literally like what we're doing right now, that's what changes, I think. Like, the Dharma doesn't change itself, right? It's like the tools that it's used to transmit is what changes through time, right? And that's what adapts. That's what we adapt to.
We don't have to intentionally apply change to it. It does it on its own. And we have, we all have our, that's difficult to hear and difficult to really like understand. And I don't mean hear understand. I mean hear understand. We all have personalities. Every teacher has their own personality. They have their own style, and that, without trying, even trying to keep it exactly the same, it changes. And that, so why do we need to trouble ourselves with trying to make, well, if we just left this part out, if we wore these clothes instead of those clothes, it would be better, or whatever. Instead of thinking that, just take it as it is. It will change.
Yeah. It's the beauty of the Dharma. It's almost like this, how we describe it now, this like living force, right? It's almost like
Yeah.
this other entity, right? I don't know.
Hmm.
That's what I'm seeing right now. It's like this thing. It's almost like parasitic. That's negative. That has a negative connotation, but you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
It almost
yeah,
like
yeah.
lives through us. It like lives in us and
Uh-huh.
like morphs through us as beings. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the imagery that I see as we're speaking right now.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah. That's what I say though, is like once you understand the Dharma enough, it's like it just imbues your life. Like you become a part of it. Like it sucks you in. It's just like it's this, it's like contagious kind of too. Like other people, if they're good enough and if you resonate with them enough, they'll suck you in. The teacher, right? When the
Yes.
teacher is ready, the student appears. I'm sorry, it's the other
Hmm.
way around. When the student
Oh.
is ready, the teacher appears. And yeah, the teacher will just suck you in to their aura, to their energy. And
Hmm.
I feel that 100%. I don't have any specific teacher. I don't know why, but I resonate with specific teachers like you. Like you're my teacher right now, and that's how I that's how I download the Dharma. We could say,
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting journey and an interesting path that I'm on. Like it's almost like I have hundreds of teachers. Like I sit down today before this, I was like, all right, I'm gonna sit down, and this guy's gonna be my guru today. That's how I try to approach every talk. I'm like, this person is my dedicated guru for this hour, hour and a half, whatever. They're my
Hmm.
guru. And that's how I try to approach it in that way. And that,
Hmm.
my point is that way of downloading the Dharma, as I said, is very new. That's very novel. Most people weren't able to do that. I know Buddha has and like people have in the past, but let's be honest, in where I'm at in Boston, I wouldn't be able to do this locally. I mean, there's probably there's yoga teachers, but in the extent that we're going into now and speaking to you, you're in Japan, you wouldn't be able to do this 20, 30 years ago. So
No.
it's a very novel way that the Dharma has
Yeah.
imparted itself into my life. And we're also recording it too, and other people may listen. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just saying like how this thing evolves through us through time. It's so interesting and so fascinating, you know?
It
And I feel a part
really
of it.
is. Yeah. Yeah. True that.
Yeah. True that, man. Yeah.
Such a ridiculously cool blessing that we have. This is one of the for all of the BS that I think everyone, especially anyone who finds this kind of a conversation on the internet, they're already thinking, yeah, there's so much BS on the internet, or like technology has so many prickly thorns attached to it, problems.
That's for
It
sure.
causes so
Every
much
rose has
suffering.
a thorn.
but there are also these wonderful um, opportunities to connect to Mahasangha, like something big and broad.
Mm,
In the last couple of weeks, in the zazen, in Japanese, it's called a zazenkai, a Zen meeting, a zazen meeting. I call it Zen meet, but
mm,
it's I publish them every week on my YouTube channel because every week I host a period of meditation where we do zazen and then we do a little walking meditation, and then there's some conversation time. Sometimes I present a teaching or take questions, and the last couple of weeks it has expanded a bit and covered a large swath of the earth, and for all of the time zones to match at just this right moment where everyone can be
mm.
like meeting, like representing like the whole planet is just mind
Yeah,
blowing.
it's magic.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? What a treasure we have.
Truly. Yeah.
Mm,
As we said before, it's all in how we utilize the times, utilize the technology of the times. So yeah.
yeah. Mm,
Wondrous times, that's for sure. Very interesting. Definitely very prickly. There's a lot of distractions on this technology, but if you know how to utilize it
yeah,
correctly,
yeah.
you can become a Buddha.
You
It's all
know,
available to us.
you said something earlier about uh, practicing like asceticism, and I think right there is a good place where doing the ascetic thing, which is restraining ourselves, is an important practice
Mm,
in being able to understand what we experience. by using technology, we have an opportunity to not restrain ourselves in a lot of ways. Endless scrolling is a good example, but
Mm-hmm.
to really, really, really carefully guard our senses, our experience, and limit what we do and how we use it. We can practice a kind of asceticism, and that might produce favorable results. I don't know if anyone wants to try
Yeah.
that. Go ahead.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Easier said than done for sure, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Amen to that. Goodness gracious. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Mm,
That's Mara, right there. It's our phone. It's
absolutely.
our screen, staring us right in
Yeah.
our face.
Yeah. And yet,
It's true
yeah.
though. I try to. I'm not perfect, obviously, but I try to use it intentionally. Like my phone
Mm,
and everything I do online. It's like, right, what am I going here for? Am I just scratching an itch where I feel like I need to scroll, or do I
mm-hmm.
have a goal in mind when I go on here? And I try to do that. I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm not perfect. I get sucked. I get lost into the sauce. I get sucked in. But if you do, to anyone listening, approach your technology with intention, with just like sit before you use it. Anyone listening right now, before you use it, your phone, after you're done listening to this, think about what you're going to do next rather than just get sucked in. Because it's like our technology decides for us, right? It's like, all
Yes.
right, you're going to go
Yes, it
do
does.
this, right? So you have to take the reins and decide what you're going to do next. That's what the internet used to be. 10 years
Yeah.
ago, 10, 15 years ago. It's like you had to actually put in the search terms what you wanted. Now it's morphed into this thing where it just takes your mind over. So I would recommend to
Yeah.
use it like the old days, like the good old days of the internet, of what are you going to do? What are you here for? And if it's nothing, which probably, honestly, it's probably nothing for a lot of people, just being honest. If it's
Yeah.
nothing, put it down, go for a walk, and do something intentional. That's all I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's all I got to say.
mm, mm. Amen. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Amen, man. Yeah. Well, it's a miracle to be able to do this and have these conversations. I think this is my form of intentionality, using the technology, hopefully in a
Mm,
dharmic way, in a sattvic way, to have these conversations with you. And hopefully people listen in the future. If they don't, it's okay. I had a good
yeah.
time.
Yeah. I will, yeah. May if one person gets one good idea to live a little better, a little more authentically, and a little bit more calm, then
Mhm.
it will. I like to say that every conversation will have served its purpose.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Because
Yeah.
I did. I feel calmer today, Eshin. I
All
think this
right.
is a good note to wrap it up at. But do you have anything else you want to say before we stop recording?
Um. No, not really. There are. I hope lots of people are deeply encountering themselves. Maybe, uh, if anybody has listened all the way to this point, when you finish, whenever this conversation finishes, my wish would be that you close the browser or the app that you've watched this video in or listened to this podcast in, and then set a timer on your device for 1 minute. Arrange your body, sit up straight, and just don't close your eyes. Close your mouth. Just be straight up. Breathe quietly. Be where you are for just 1 minute. And then when the timer goes off, you'll know exactly what to do next. Go do that and just be
Mhm.
there. That's it. That's my wish.
Awesome. I'm going to go do just that.
Mm. All right.
Thank you, Eshin. Amazing conversation.
Thank you, Gary.
Amazing human being. I honor you and I bow to you.
Thank you. Right back at you.
That's it, everybody. Peace and love. See you
See
guys.
you.